Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to go down the rumor rabbit hole. But before we get into that, I just want to say that this is going to be more about kind of determining the believability of a rumor as opposed to actually dissecting the rumor itself, or maybe it'll be like a 50-50 split. But the idea is recently, off of YouTube, I don't know if I can actually name the YouTuber if they'll strike my video, but a YouTuber released a very, very scathing, well, I shouldn't say scathing, but a major scoop on saying that Disney is planning on erasing the sequel trilogy for Star Wars, and then that they are going to remake it with 3 new films. Or they're going to do something to scrub it from the canon one way or another. I think it's assumed that they are going to do more movies and do a rebooted sequel trilogy, which it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and I'll go over some of that. But here's the thing, is that we've had rumors about Star Wars movies going all the way back to Solo, and the reason why a lot of those rumors initially were believed is because they were plausible, and some of them were true. You had a lot of plot leaks that happened that a lot of them did turn out to be true. Some of them were bullshit, but a lot of them did turn out to be true. Whether that's by coincidence or not, regardless, they still turned out to be right. And then you had all the stuff about the reshoots with Episode 9, and I did a video about it too, where I thought that it could be plausible because of the reshoot schedule, because J.J. Abrams had said that they had just wrapped reshoots the previous month, and this was November, right before the film was supposed to come out. Because it was set for, I believe, a December 16th release date. So you were not far out from that movie coming out, and you just wrapped reshoots. That was a very, very interesting red flag for me, in addition to the fact that this production was so cramped in the way that it was done. And we knew a certain number of things. We knew about the production schedule. That was confirmed. We knew about the on-site editing of the film. That was confirmed. We knew about some of the reshoots. We knew about some that were taking place. We didn't necessarily know who was involved in them and how extensive they were. The rumors dictated that the extensiveness was up to 70% of the film, which again is a bit outrageous when you think about, even though they had a very cramped production schedule to begin with, trying to film 70% of a movie in the course of about 2.5 to 3 months is damn near impossible. But the probability of it being done, I feel like if you had multiple crews and multiple things going on, you probably could get it done. So maybe that's why I thought that was a bit more plausible, even though there's really been nothing to come out to support that. Now, with this most recent rumor, you run into the problem of just plain believability. I don't believe that Disney would say that they're going to scrub the films and say that they're going to redo the films. Because, you have a couple problems with that. One of the problems is one of your original trilogy actors is dead with Carrie Fisher. And then on top of that, you have Harrison Ford, who probably doesn't want to come back and play Han Solo again, because he already has done it in Rise of Skywalker and Force Awakens, and now he's also coming back to do an Indiana Jones film. So I don't know how much more you can squeeze out of the poor old guy, but I mean, I guess hypothetically, if you threw enough money at him, you could get him. But aside from that, you're never getting Carrie Fisher back unless you use a CGI stand-in, which would just be weird. And then killing her off in between Episode 6 and the new Episode 7 would also be strange. So you have that aspect. So I don't know if you were going to do something. I think you're going to do it so far outside the original trilogy that all of those characters are just deemed to be dead at the point where you're doing it. That would be the only way to kind of carry on and redo it. But even then, you could probably still do that with the way that it's working now. Maybe just disregard the films as kind of like maybe make a soft reboot, saying like, oh yeah, a couple of things happened after the destruction of the second Death Star, sometime later, but ultimately, that stuff is kind of squashed out. You could go that route with it too, which has happened. But I don't see Disney doing that. I don't see them caving to that extent. They never have before. They probably never will. I think that maybe a large reason why a lot of people think this might be plausible is because of the Snyder Cut, because a lot of people said that was impossible, that was never going to come out. Here we stand. Now, I'm not going to say that if it did happen, it would be a bad thing necessarily. I think it would depend very much on who they're getting to write those films and direct those films and be the creative minds behind those films. The other problem is that you're still going to have some of the fan base left over from the sequel trilogy, even though I think they're probably outnumbered by by fans of the original trilogy and even the prequels. They're still there, so I mean, you're gonna alienate that crowd if you go back and do that. And I don't see it happening. I don't see them just wasting all that material, because then they also have comic books, they have novels, and everything else in their television shows and stuff that have all tied into the narrative that they've now replaced the old EU with. So what would be the alternative? The alternative would be you erase the canon and then you restore the new EU. So then now you have to make movies outside of the EU anyway, which is probably what they plan on doing with this new Star Wars trilogy they plan on coming out with from that starts in 2022. So there's that. So there's a whole bunch of things here that make this seem basically impossible from what we know Disney's track record to be. Now, at the same time, you're also not changing leadership in this scenario either. With Warner Brothers in between when the Snyder Cut came out, or when the Justice League came out, the theatrical version, and when the Snyder Cut is going to come out, Warner Brothers, I believe, at the top of its echelon, has changed hands in terms of leadership to an extent. So they really have no investment in that old film like some of those other executives may have. So it really doesn't matter all too much. I shouldn't say it doesn't matter, but it matters less to them, at least maybe on a personal level, to do the Snyder Cut. Whereas the people that were in charge of Disney when all these movies were being done are still in charge of Disney, and the people that were in charge of Lucasfilm are still in charge of Lucasfilm. So to trust them again to do this again a second time, sorry, you had one shot and you fucked it up. I think I think that's kind of ridiculous from like a financial standpoint. If you were going to do it, if you were going to do this, you should have done it immediately after Last Jedi. You should have said this is an offshoot film. We're going to fix this. This is a different film. There's going to be 10 films in the series, and the next one is going to be the middle entry. This thing was kind of like just a weird side deal, and we're going to kind of erase it. They should have gotten that. They should have held on to Trevorrow for episode 9 to see what he could do, because Abrams was just a copy and paste job and just bringing back old villains that made absolutely no sense. And then you can go down and maybe have somebody else do the 10th, or have somebody film 9 and 10 back to back, which was something that was actually tossed around to close out the Star Wars trilogy, to try and fix everything that got fucked up in episode 8. So you have that. So I don't think the rumor is believable. And I'm saying it's a rumor. I know some people are saying it's actual factual news. It's a rumor. It's something that's hearsay. It's somebody who is a quote-unquote insider. Now, I'm not saying that insiders, quote-unquote, need to release their names, but the people that are releasing this information need to know whether or not it's actually true. Otherwise, it's just clickbait, and that just degrades the audience's faith in you. I mean, yeah, it gets clicks, it gets watches, eventually it'll get subscriptions, or subscribers, but it's under falsehood in a sense, because this looks like bupkis. This honestly does look like bupkis. I couldn't see this happening. Like I said, if it does happen, you know what? I'll make a video and I'll say I was wrong for doubting the leaks. I was wrong for doubting that this was what Disney was going to do. But it seems like Disney is far more invested in stuff like The Mandalorian, a little bit on the small screen. They have those other films which are unconnected to the Skywalker saga, which are going to be coming out, like I said before. They also have the High Republic, which is supposed to be this sort of Republic, old Republic era type of series. I think it's starting as a book series. I don't know if they're going to expand that all that much. I think that's what it's starting as, though. So this is kind of like middle-age Jedi, because we saw the end of the 1,000 Years of Peace with the Star Wars prequels and then the original trilogy. Well, mostly the prequels, because the original trilogy is the Galactic Civil War. But we saw the end of peace in the galaxy and the destruction of the Jedi already. So, you have 1,000 years to work with, or more than that probably. And, they explored a little bit of it in Old Republic and with some of the other lore that was around at the time. So, you could jump in and out of that stuff. But I think that when you hear something that's that outrageous, I think that some people, I think, are equating it with the Snyder Cut because of, recent developments, but I don't know. I don't buy this particular rumor, and I'm curious to see what Disney is actually going to do because Mandalorian season 2 is going to be coming out at the end of this year. I think the Obi-Wan series is still semi on the table, although I don't know what's going on with that. And then they also have some other. They're working on those movies that are going to be coming out in a few years. So I don't know. I want to see what happens with that stuff more because I think that's really what they're concentrating on now. I don't think they're even thinking about the Skywalker saga anymore. I think they've washed their hands of it. But I want to know what you think. Do you believe these new these new Star Wars rumors? Do you think that they're plausible? Do you think, like me, that they're kind of bupkis? But I want to know what you think, so put your thoughts in the comments below. As usual, I like to read them. Hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?